My name is Tom Goodwin. I'm an executive director with Cru, and for the last 3 to 4 years, I've been working on a national research project, which has been the basis of our findings that we're sharing with you through Workplace. And you've already heard about the shift and the transition from doing ministry in a greenhouse environment to a wild field. And you also were introduced to 3 of our 7 personas within the city. Now today we're going to tackle the question, how do we share the gospel in a changing culture? And especially today, how do you share the gospel outside your apartment complex, down your street, in your neighborhood, in your community, and for many of you with your family, and thinking of even doing that from a distance. We're so used to having high touch and being engaged with people, and the challenges we have today is that we're forced into isolation, but we need to move towards people and to move towards opportunities to engage people with the gospel. And so as we think about engaging people in our culture with the gospel, we have to realize that we're coming into our culture with a problem. And our problem to solve is that Christianity is neither authentic nor relevant to those who don't follow. Now that doesn't come as a surprise to most of you, but that was one of the basic learnings that we gleaned from our research. That as we asked people throughout the country, how did they feel about Christians, Christian organizations, and how likely are they to engage with them? We found that our respondents, all the way across the spectrum of the scale of belief, felt as though today that Christianity is neither authentic or relevant to those who don't follow. And people in the city feel that Christians are talking at people about their beliefs without understanding others first. And the sad thing is that every truth told, even every well-intentioned gospel truth told, becomes a brick in a growing wall, a sound barrier that prevents either side from hearing each other. We think it's the other's responsibility to tear it down. Well, we believe that as followers of Christ, it's our responsibility to understand our audience and to start to break down the barriers that divide us. And we believe as each brick is being built and dividing people apart from the truth of the gospel, that one conversation has the opportunity to loosen the brick. But it's going to take multiple conversations with people, with the anxiety they're experiencing, the animosity they're experiencing towards Christianity. The bricks are growing and they're increasing in size. And so what we believe that each conversation that we have with someone is an opportunity to loosen that brick. However, we have to look at conversations a little bit differently than we have historically. You know, historically, as we think about sharing the gospel, we think about it from a perspective of setting up an appointment, having a transactional opportunity to gather together over coffee with a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, and to get to the gospel. In fact, we've created a culture so often within our churches and within our ministries that followers of Christ are feeling guilty if they don't get to that point of decision, if they don't get to circles that the person has to choose, are they in or are they out? They don't get to a point of praying with that person and leading them to Christ. And so we feel as though we feel futile and we feel discouraged if we don't get to that point. And so often we found as we're talking to people is that followers of Christ are just giving up. They're saying, I can't do it. I'm not the professional full-time Christian worker. I'll leave that to the church worker or the missionary to do that for me. But our belief today is that we're all called to proclaim the gospel, to engage people with the gospel, and to do it with a great understanding of our respondents. Are they able to hear? And so we believe that we still want to get to the cross. We still want to get to the gospel. We still want to help people understand the fundamentals of the gospel and for them to come into a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. But we have to have an appreciation that they need to hear it in a lot of different angles, in a lot of different ways, and to see it demonstrated in powerful ways. So this illustration is still coffee to the cross, but it involves lots of opportunities and lots of engagements, lots of expressions of the gospel. You know, we have shared so often within our road shows across the country that we did live in a season and a time 15, 20, and 30 years ago where we had the convenience of proclaiming well without loving well. And we enjoyed the opportunity in a culture that was responsive to the gospel and to Christianity to simply proclaim. And in a one-time shot, call people to confess their sins and come to Christ. But now, I think we're really being called back to a more biblical approach of loving well and also proclaiming well. And as we love well, tied together with proclaiming well, we're going to break down the misconceptions that people have, and we're going to loosen those bricks in the wall and allow them to hear the gospel and to understand it in a way that's compelling to them, is believable to them, and has the ability to penetrate to their deepest part in their heart. We're going to be talking a lot more about that in our next 3 modules, practical ways of how you can begin to initiate those conversations. It's not as easy as it used to be 20, 30 years ago, but we still have the same God. We have a Holy Spirit that we can pray that would bring people to an understanding and that reveal the truth of the gospel and draw people into the loving relationship that we all experience as followers of Christ. So as we engage in proclaiming the gospel well, it is our hope that just the simple truth from this module is that today it's a lot more complicated and a lot more involved than just coffee to the cross. But it needs to involve many opportunities to loosen those bricks and the misconceptions and the divide that we're experiencing within our culture. So thanks for joining with us, and we hope that this will be practical. What we want you to do now is think of what are 10 ways that I can practically demonstrate the gospel in my apartment complex, to my family, in my community, or in my city today, even in the midst of the confines and the restrictions we have with the COVID-19. Many are staying safe and staying at home, and we encourage that. And there's lots of opportunities to reach out digitally, to pray for our neighbors, to serve our neighborhood, our apartment complexes, our community, our workplaces. What are 10 different ways that you can begin to be a part of that multiple points on the filter of leading people to a potential decision and an understanding of the truth of the gospel? We hope you have a great day, and you'll be hearing from us tomorrow.